Good afternoon. It's Tuesday, the 15th of September. That's right, we're midway through the month. In today's lead stories, Martrade helps close to 14,000 companies penetrate global market and employment to drop to 4.5% by this year end. Shortly, I'll be speaking to Professor Dr. Balakrishnan, an HR lecturer at University Malaysia Kelantan, on the unemployment rate in the country, as well as Malaysia's perhaps pioneer geostrategist, or the person who coined the term geostrategist. Azmi Hassan weighs in on the upcoming Sabah state election. I'm Jessy Chahal. This is the Midday Update. We begin with a brief overview of what's happening globally and nationally with regards to COVID-19. As of broadcast time today, COVID-19 is affecting 215 countries and has recorded more than 29.4 million cases, with more than 932,000 deaths. The US, India, Brazil and Russia top the rankings in the number of cases. Back home here in Malaysia, 9,946 cases has been recorded so far, the death toll at 128. Now in local news, did you know that Martrade, or the Malaysia External Trade Development Corporation, has assisted nearly 14,000 local companies to penetrate the global market during the period of 2015 till 2019? According to the Deputy International Trade and Industry Minister, Senator Datuk Lim Ban Hong, Martrade also promoted 337 Malaysian brands from various sectors during this period. These include big names like Petronas, Royal Selangor, Secret Recipe, Mary Brown, Brahim's, Adabi, Tanah Merah, Allure, Kind, and of course the very famous Upin and Ipin. Now, apparently, Martrade's initiatives in helping local businesses enter the global market include holding a mid-tier development program in collaboration with consulting firms that provide advisory services. Martrade also provides market development grants to ease the financial burden faced by local, small and medium entrepreneurs exporting companies. Well, still with business enhancement programs especially, a total of 100,000 entrepreneurs are expected to sit for the Malaysia National Entrepreneurs Psychometric Test, or myNEPT, this year. According to Entrepreneur Development and Cooperatives Minister Datuk Seri Dr. Wan Junaidi Tuanku Jaafar, the system developed by InSkin will assist both entrepreneurs and would-be entrepreneurs to understand their inclinations and individual personality traits in order to achieve success. Wan Junaidi is calling on all agencies under his ministry to utilize this new system to assist entrepreneurs to know themselves better and to improve their weaknesses. And in Perak, the state government is hoping that the Finance Ministry will loosen the 48-hour requirement before tourists can enjoy duty-free shopping on Pangkor Island. According to its State Tourism Committee chairman, there have been many requests from shops as well as vendors at the island due to the increasing number of tourists there. She says many businesses are hoping for the requirement that it could be shortened to 24 hours. It said that tourist arrivals are on the rise. Indeed, what more with the oncoming long weekend, with Malaysia Day happening on the 16th of September, which is effective tomorrow. Many people, Malaysians, may take a few days off to visit islands around the country. Now, for context, back in January, there were only 18 daily return trips from the mainland to Pangkor. And on Sunday alone, or to be exact, last Sunday, there were 43 return trips. So at this juncture, I'd like to thank you all for supporting domestic tourism, and thanks for helping to keep the dream alive. Now, here's something from the desk of the Environment and Water Minister. A special task force to prevent environmental crimes will be set up to ensure such crimes are quickly dealt with. According to Datuk Seri Tuan Ibrahim Tuan Man, the elite task force will be in operation as early as October. Indeed, we have beautiful places and areas here in Malaysia, and it's our duty to protect them. Tuan Man did mention that the government is keeping to its pledge to act against environmental perpetrators. The task force involves the Department of Environment, Water Services Commission, Biosafety Development, as well as the police to further boost enforcement against polluters. Now, on the issue of unemployment, the unemployment rate in the country is expected to ease further to 4.5% by year end. According to senior economist of United Overseas Bank, Julia Goh, Malaysia's labour market continues to improve, with the unemployment rate falling for the second straight month to 4.7% in July from 4.9% a month before in June. And of course, the peak of it so far has been 5.3% back in May. Now, she said the total labour force increased by 55,000 persons to 15.82 million people in July as a result of the reopening of more economic sectors under the RMCO, including tourism, education, entertainment and recreational activities. If you're trying to make sense of all these numbers and stats and figures, and you're perhaps not an economist, you're probably thinking, well, what is Jessy going on about? Well, to make it all much clearer for us, joining me via Skype right now is Professor Dr. Balakrishnan. He's a human resource lecturer at the University Malaysia, Kelantan. Hi, Prof. Are you on the line?
Yeah. I'm on the line now.
All right, joining us via phone right now, Prof. Thanks for being with us. Now, the unemployment rate rose to 5.3 in May. We understand that, with the number of jobless Malaysians also reaching a high of 826,000. With all these figures and stats that I just read out, Prof, perhaps you could help us make sense. What are these figures saying? What do they indicate?
Okay, thank you, Jessy. So thank you to Bernama. If you look at our country scenario, economy scenario, since MCO was implemented since 18 March, we start with the MCO and then later we go on the conditional MCO. Now we are coming to the RMCO, recovery, and we are extended to the 31st of December. Okay, what we spend that actually during the MCO, 18 March to June, you can see that the number, the percentage of unemployment is going up. That is a normal condition in any economy situation when the lockdown period, all the business closed down. So because due to the pandemic, we are going to tackle the pandemic. Of course, the government come up with this very serious measurement. On that particular time, you can see that the numbers increasing something like 5.3%. Basically because all the economy closed down. There's no economy, there's no business. So when no business, no economy, of course, nobody will working.
Sure, but it seems as though these figures are showing that things are improving, that companies are hiring again. So from 5.3 to 4.7 and a forecast of 4.5 by year end. Now, despite this market indicator showing signs of improvement, are there any expected hurdles ahead? We know this is the last month. By next month, basically, bank loans will kick in again. That will be expiring the end of this month. Wage subsidy programs as well. The Malaysian Stats Department has also forecast a recession that is impending, that's oncoming by year end as well. So what are some of the expected hurdles do you see ahead of this figure of 4.7 on the unemployment rate currently?
Okay. Of course, the economy is slowly improving from the time to time. It will be short-term period. Of course, we're having some hurdles. But I would like to say something that the period of the recession is still ongoing. But of course, some sectors badly affected, like tourism, hotels, and even the airline business, all badly affected, but they're slowly picking up. And I think some of the measurement that government already done under Penjana, prihatin economy, like for example, moratorium. I think moratorium should be continued. That's my personal view. Not only select certain group that people don't have job, but basically B40 group actually suffering, and in fact M40 also. I strongly
But
suggested
on that note, Professor, if I could just jump in again, is that definitely a hurdle you see oncoming if it's not extended? And also, based on that, what do you think an extension will do to the banking system? There seems to be a cause and effect either way.
And of course, banking and the Bank Negara should be discussed with the Ministry of Finance. So that is an issue on the national, but I'm talking the ground level. Recently, we've done some research also indicate that people still suffering in terms of the financial turbulence. So if you can continue, maybe people can spend money out, because you see we are promoting tourism domestic, but people still have no money to go out and spending the money. So at the same time, in economy, a good economy, of course, spending out. So I think that's my personal view. I think there will be some discussion can go on the high level to tackle the problem on the B40 group. And of
All right,
course,
thank you. Thank you very much, Prof, for weighing in on the issue of unemployment. And of course, so far, looks like things are improving. And the forecast for year end at 4.5. We were at 5.3 back in May. When we come back, we'll be discussing Sabah. Azmi Hassan joins me then. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Midday Update. Yes, things are getting a bit heated, so I've decided to stand right now. Let's move to some news from Sabah. UPCO President Datuk Seri Wilfred Madias Tangau believes his track record for itself as to why he's the right person to be the elected representative of Kulu. However, the caretaker Deputy Chief Minister and former Federal Minister is leaving it up to the constituents to make their choice in the upcoming polls. The Tuaran MP says his decision to run for the Kulu State seat was because he wanted to ensure continuity of projects by the caretaker state government. And as things are building up in Sabah, joining us via Skype right now is Azmi Hassan, Geostrategist, to weigh in into all the current issues happening pertaining to the Sabah election. Hi Azmi, thanks for joining us. Now, what we see in Sabah is that the campaign is gaining momentum. From that perspective, when we looked around the area as well, we found that many candidates have gone the extra mile. They're taking boat rides to visit the general market, people there to food courts, futsal, community halls, many other public spaces as well. In terms of campaigning, BN and PN seem to be utilizing social media platforms to reach out and battle for the hearts and minds of the voters. Do you think that this is a strategy that could work for them, especially amongst the younger voters?
Yes, Jessy, among the younger voters, whether in Sabah or in Peninsula, media social is the best mean to reach them, to talk to them, to communicate with them. But Sabah is Sabah. They are very unique, and their interiors, the voters are a lot in the interior. And I think face-to-face communication, face-to-face campaign, I think is the key thing in Sabah. Media social
because
can help
if we look at Shafi Abdal, 80% of his campaign involves meeting the people, not because everyone has a phone or internet service. And then on the flip side of that as well, we saw a video which we're going to pull up right now showing the Chief Minister candidate Shafi Abdal trouncing his opponent Street Fighter style. I don't know if you've had a look at this video, Azmi. It's a bit of a well, I guess a tongue-in-cheek, funny video that's been put out there. So it seems like this is a two-prong effect. They are also walking the walk on the ground, as well as using social media or entertainment videos per se to reach out. So back to your point, how will this work with people in the more rural areas?
I think in the rural areas, in the interiors, in Sabah especially, I think face-to-face is still the key. But again, as you mentioned, Shafi Abdal used the social media to portray a certain point of view. And I guess this is very effective. So if you combine both, you're walking on the ground and also you're using social media to stress a point, I think this is a very effective. But I still in the opinion that Jessy, that face-to-face meeting with the voters will be the most, I think, prominent in the Sabah election campaign.
That's right. So on the ground, people in business, traders are telling Sabah election candidates to walk the talk. Basic amenities and infrastructure, you're talking about things like clean water supply, electricity, roads and mobile telecommunication network coverage. These are still big issues in Sabah. According to MCA Deputy President Dr. Ma Hang Soon, strong ties between the federal and state government will ensure sustained development for the people of Sabah. What are your thoughts on this?
Yes, Jesse, I think it's quite sad that Sabah, has been independent for more than 6 decades. Their infrastructure is way far behind. And I think this is something that the politicians need to hear. And I concur that a good relationship with the state government and the federal government, and with the pandemic, the economy is in a downturn. I think both entities, the state and the federal, need to work with each other. But it cannot be denied that the basic infrastructure that we here in Jesse really take it for granted. I think this is the key point that they need to attract, and the politician need to pay attention to, Jesse.
That's right. Let's talk about the new norm. Voters may also choose to stay away from all these campaigning activities to be part of that due to COVID-19. Sabah just recorded the highest number of new cases yesterday, 25 individuals infected. Do you think COVID-19 will be a deterrent to voter turnout in Sabah, Azmi?
It will not be deterrent, but it will be a constraint. But I think I concur with our SPR saying that the voter turnout will be very high in the region of 75 to 80%. Since any result from this state election will, I would say, not only affected Sabah, but affected the whole Malaysia. So in this way, pandemic or no pandemic, COVID or no COVID, I think the voters turnout will be quite high, Jesse.
Thank you very much, Azmi Hassan, Geostrategist, joining us there to weigh in on the upcoming Sabah elections, the 16th state elections happening September 26th, with early voting beginning September 22nd. Now, in other stories, a teenager, Muhammad Syukur Khamis, who earned nicknames like Mowgli in Malaysia and Kampong Boy, has expressed his sadness over the 25 buffaloes belonging to his father that were found dead. 15-year-old Muhammad Syukur, in his Facebook post, said that it's possibly a seasonal outbreak of a disease which has caused the deaths of his buffaloes. He became a worldwide sensation among photographers since 2015 for his prowess in interacting with over 100 buffaloes reared by his father. A picture of him with a herd of animals went viral on social media after it was voted Best Picture in Asia. Indeed, it's heartbreaking to see that. It was also shortlisted, this picture that had gone on social media, as among the top 20 photographs in the world. Now, JPJ says it will work with other enforcement agencies over incidents involving cyclists on highways. According to JPJ's Director General, in the context of the law, they apparently have no jurisdiction over cyclists and could only advise them on issues relating to road safety. He says this in response to a question regarding a group of cyclists who were photographed cycling on a highway, reportedly near Seremban. The picture, like all else, has gone viral on social media. The Sultan of Selangor, Sultan Sharifuddin Idris Shah, has bought the golden boot belonging to former national footballer Khalid Jamlus at a price agreed by both parties. He also decreed the Golden Boot trophy worn by Khalid in 2002 be placed at the Selangor Football Gallery located in the palace grounds of Istana Alam Shah. Khalid, who is also a former Perak player, won the Golden Boot award after scoring 17 goals while helping Perak emerge as the Premier League One champion back in 2002. Now, earlier, the media had reported that the former national striker wanted to sell his golden boot for 10,500 ringgit through a live bid on his Facebook page after being unemployed for 3 years, and his contract as assistant coach for the Royal Malaysia Police was not extended. On that note, we take a break. When we come back, international news. Stay tuned.
Tahukah anda kita masih terdedah kepada bahaya wabak COVID-19? Amalkan langkah pencegahan dengan menghindarkan diri kita daripada 3C. Elakkan tempat yang sesak dengan tidak menyertai aktiviti yang melibatkan orang ramai dan berkumpulan. Elakkan tempat tertutup dan amalkan norma baharu dengan menjalankan aktiviti harian dan pekerjaan secara dalam talian dan dari rumah. Elakkan kontak rapat dengan mengamalkan penjarakan sosial dan kerap menjaga kebersihan diri.
Welcome back to the Midday Update. In Brazil, thousands of fire are alight in the Amazon forest. In the northern state of Pará, firefighters are attempting to stop the blaze. However, they can only tackle them when the temperature drops and winds slow. But, as we know, weather can change anytime. The Brazilian government has been criticized in the past for its treatment and lack of safeguarding of its rainforests. Hundreds of migrants, mostly women and children, protested in the Greek island of Lesbos on Monday after some people were left homeless by fires which destroyed the Moria camp last week, and they were moved into a new camp facility. The migrants held signs and marched chanting "No Camp, Freedom," demanding to leave the island and be allowed to travel to mainland Europe. And the Moria camp was built to house around 3,000, but overcrowding led to more than 12,500 people living in filth and had been held up by critics as a symbol of the European Union's migration policy failings. Hurricane Paulette made landfall in Bermuda early yesterday as a strong Category 1 storm, just hours after the wealthy British territory shuttered schools, government agencies and air and sea ports. Fewer than 10 hurricanes have made direct landfall on the tiny island in the middle of the Atlantic since the National Hurricane Center began tracking such disasters in the 1850s. Power was out across much of the island. In the meantime, forecasters say Sally, now an extremely dangerous Category 2 hurricane, could approach major hurricane strength as it nears the U.S. Gulf Coast. The hurricane is currently packing winds of up to 155 kilometers per hour as it meanders offshore. That is just shy of a Category 3 hurricane, which is capable of catastrophic damage. And in football, World Football's governing body FIFA and the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, UNODC, announced a new partnership in Vienna to jointly tackle corruption and crime in football. The UN's leading anti-corruption agency and World's football governing body signed a memorandum of understanding in an effort to step up cooperation in addressing both threats. The pledge is to consider ways in which football can be used as a vehicle to strengthen youth resilience to crime and substance use through the provision of life skills training. And finally, this year's Macy's Thanksgiving Parade has been reimagined for the coronavirus pandemic. Macy's officials say the parade will feature floats, performers and giant balloons parading along a one-block stretch of 34th Street in front of the retailer's flagship Manhattan store. The giant balloons will be flown without the traditional 80 to 100 handlers and will instead be padded through vehicles. Most of the parade's performers will be locally based to cut down on travel. Well, that's all for this edition of the Midday Update. At 3 p.m. later today, please join Tamina Kazji as she speaks to Edin Koo about Sabah, Sarawak and the Peninsula. As a reminder, we are currently celebrating the Rukun Negara's 50th anniversary. Perhaps a good time for us to revisit and internalize the nation's guiding philosophy for a better Malaysia. I'm Jessy Chahal. This has been the Midday Update. Thank you for watching.